There is a monthly military check worth around $1,000 that most eligible families never even claim. And there is a catch sitting right at the center of it, one that quietly decides whether this money ever reaches your family at all.
Nora, the shape of it is this. It is called the Basic Needs Allowance, and it exists for a hard reason. Some junior military families, especially with several kids on one income, land below the poverty line, so the military adds a monthly check to lift them back up. It is one of the quietest benefits in the whole system. And I want the tone clear, because this is not about pity. It is a family getting exactly what the rules already say they are owed.
Today we break down exactly who qualifies, the honest catch nobody mentions, and the real number a family can actually see. And by the end, you will know in 5 minutes whether this is money your own family should be claiming right now.
And the threshold is the key. For 2026, if your gross household income sits below 200% of the federal poverty guideline for your family size, you are in the zone this was designed for. That covers a lot more families than people assume, because the old versions used a much lower cutoff.
And it is real money. Depending on the gap between your income and that line, the monthly check can run several $100s, and for a larger family it can reach around $1,000 a month, every month.
But here is that catch, and it is the whole ball game. It is not automatic. You have to apply for it, prove your income, and reapply every single year. That one hurdle is why so much of this money simply goes unclaimed. Nobody at finance is going to walk up and tell you that you might qualify. The responsibility to start it sits entirely with you.
So here's the question I keep sitting with. Could there be a $1,000 a month check with your family's name on it that will never arrive unless you fill out one form? A real check for families who need it, sitting unclaimed. There are free guides at military.professorerica.com. Now let us bring in some help and see exactly who qualifies. Real quick, because this next part matters to you. If any of this is helping, tap that like button, then hit subscribe and ring the bell so the next one finds you. Both are free and take about a second, but they tell the algorithm to show this to one more person who needs it. Professor Raman is joining us at the desk to help with the part that trips everyone up, figuring out who actually qualifies. So let us start there.
Nora, it really comes down to 3 gates a family has to pass, and getting these straight is the whole game. Gate 1 is your status. You have to be active duty, and that includes Guard and Reserve on active duty orders, past your initial training, with at least one dependent enrolled in DEERS. No dependent, no BNA. It is a family benefit by design. That is the single hardest line in the whole program, and it is the first thing your finance office will check.
Gate 2 is the income line. Your gross household income has to sit below 200% of the federal poverty guideline for your family size and duty station. And notice it is household income, so a working spouse counts too. So a family truly living on one modest check, and a family with a second income that still falls short, can both land under the line.
And Gate 3 is the one people trip on. You have to apply and prove it, with your tax return, your leave and earnings statement, your pay stubs. The system does not just calculate this and start paying. You have to raise your hand.
And here is what I would add, because it is the quiet mistake I see most. Families rule themselves out by guessing. That poverty line scales with family size, so a bigger family clears a much higher income and still qualifies. Do not assume you earn too much. Pull the current guideline for your household, double it, and compare it honestly. That 5-minute check is the entire difference between a family that gets this money and one that never knew it existed.
So the 5-minute check is really the whole thing.
So do not rule yourself out by guessing. If the income line rises with your family size, are you sure you earn too much to qualify?
That is exactly the trap so many families fall into. So check your real number, and now let us get honest about the one catch before we talk dollars. So before anyone counts on this money, let us be honest about the downside, because there is a real one.
Nora, this is the part that actually matters for planning. BNA is taxable income. It is not free and clear, so some is withheld, and the number on the benefit page is the gross, not what lands in the account. So the family that treats the full amount as pure bonus money can get a small surprise when they file the following spring.
And it can ripple into tax season. Because it counts as income, taking BNA can quietly shrink a credit like the Earned Income Tax Credit, so a family that leans on that refund might see it get smaller. It is rarely enough to wipe out the gain, but it is real, and it deserves to be in the math before you count on the money.
And you have to keep it alive. Reapply every year and update it the moment your income, family size, or duty station changes, or the payments can just stop.
So with all that, is it still worth claiming?
For the large majority who qualify, yes, clearly. $1 taxed is still most of $1, and a family below the poverty line needs that grocery money now, not a slightly bigger refund next spring. But go in with eyes open and budget on the after-tax number, not the headline. That one habit is what separates a family that feels helped from one that feels surprised.
So the smart move is to claim it. Just plan around what you actually keep. Treat the gross as a starting point, never the take-home, and this stays a clear win. Professor Rahman, let me hand you the real number. For a family that does qualify, what does this actually look like in dollars?
Let me walk one through. It is simple math once you have the pieces, and the pieces are just your poverty line and last year's income.
Take a family of 4. 2 times the poverty line for them is about $64,000. Say they earned about $52,000 last year. The gap is roughly $12,000, and divided across 12 months, that is a bit over $1,000 a month.
And then the tax reality.
And then the tax reality. Because it is taxable, some is withheld, so instead of the full $12,000, this family actually keeps somewhere north of $10,000 for the year. That is still over $10,000 in grocery money they would have left on the table. Picture what that does across a full year for a young family. That is diapers, that is gas to get to work, that is not choosing between the electric bill and dinner.
And that number moves every year, so you apply through your finance office, bring your income documents, and reapply annually to keep it current. It is a quick annual step, not a fresh application from scratch each time.
And that is the whole point I want to land. The families who miss out are almost never the ones who did not qualify. They are the ones who assumed they would not and never checked. It is mostly last year's tax return and a recent pay statement, and your finance office does this every day. It is not a complicated package, and the people at that counter have processed hundreds of them.
Reapply every year to keep it current. And Professor Rahman, thank you. That line, that the people who miss this are the ones who never checked, is exactly what we needed said.
Glad to help.
So check your number, apply through finance, and reapply each year. If this helped you spot money your family may be owed, like the video and subscribe. It genuinely helps us keep making these. Here's what I want you sitting with after this. How many military families are below the line right now, with a check in their name, who simply never filled out the form? Around $1,000 a month for a family who qualifies, but only if you claim it. Check your number this week. I am Erica, and we will see you in the next one. One honest look at the poverty line for your family could change what your kitchen table looks like.